Did you know that people with narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, and those with antisocial personality disorder, who we will refer to as sociopaths in this video, both fall under Cluster B personality disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders? Despite the fact that they fall under the same cluster, which sometimes makes it difficult to distinguish them from each other, their personalities are actually quite different. If you want to learn more about the similarities and differences between NPD and sociopathy, stick around, because today's video is narcissism versus sociopathy. Be sure to stick around until the end, because the last difference is the most shocking one we've ever heard. First, we are going to discuss 5 of their similarities. Number 5. Both are known to lie or behave immorally with ease and with little or no remorse. Both narcissists and sociopaths are known for their disregard of morals and honesty. Exploiting, manipulating, intimidating, and lying to others to achieve their own goals comes naturally to them. Even if they're caught in a lie, or if their actions cause real harm, a narcissist or sociopath will most likely not feel any remorse. Now, they might pretend to act remorseful and show guilt. This is especially common for narcissists, as acting callous or justified in their bad behavior will not serve their reputation in a positive manner. Pretending to be apologetic and remorseful is often just another one of the narcissist's lies and manipulations to protect their reputation. However, regardless of how they may act, inside, it is incredibly rare for sociopaths or narcissists to feel true remorse for their harmful behavior. Number 4. Both sociopaths and narcissists have either impaired empathy or no empathy at all for others. One of the trademarks of these two Cluster B personality disorders is that they either have a significantly impaired empathetic ability or feel no empathy at all. Of course, there may be rare exceptions where someone with NPD or ASPD does experience empathy for others, especially towards someone close to them, but a long-term pattern of lacking empathy is typical of both of these types of people. This lack of empathy allows them to have a disregard for right and wrong, allowing them to treat people like a means to an end. Of course, if anyone treats them poorly or betrays them, they'll usually become furious. But when they treat other people badly, they normally won't be able to put themselves into other people's shoes and recognize the pain they have caused. Instead, they'll feel they were entitled to and justified in their toxic, harmful behaviors. Number 3. They will both behave in a self-centered or arrogant manner. Both sociopaths and narcissists are known to act arrogantly and in a manner that only has their self-interest in mind. They consider themselves number one in their lives and are at the center of their universe. There are some differences in this trait, which we will get to later, but it is important to note that both types of people with these disorders usually only think about themselves when they make a decision. They will not think twice when it comes to hurting someone else so long as it benefits them in one way or another. Number 2. Both have the potential to rage or act highly aggressively toward others, but they also know how to act charming and suave. Narcissists and sociopaths are both known to be very charming and alluring, which only makes them more dangerous. It takes a lot of manipulation and lies, but these types of people, who are often guilty of dark, immoral, and sometimes even illegal behaviors, are also capable of appearing as the kindest, most charismatic, and most innocent victims you've ever met. However, it will become obvious how deceitful that mask is as soon as someone crosses them. Once their mask drops, it'll often lead to their classic rages. These bouts of rage can be verbal or violent and come out of seemingly nowhere. Their ability to mask their cruel and potentially violent personality with charm and fake kindness is what makes them so dangerous. You never know when you're opening up to one, and you often won't know until they show their rage. Number 1. Both often have a pattern of unstable romantic relationships. With their lack of empathy, callousness, and disregard for morality, it's no surprise that their romantic relationships are as unstable as their personalities. Their dark personality traits allow them to manipulate people through love bombs, making their targets let their guard down easily and fall deeply for the persona or mask they show from the start of the relationship. However, once someone enters a relationship with a narcissist or sociopath, they will be guaranteed a turbulent ride. Sometimes, these types of people might show a parasitic style, using their partner for something, whether it's social status, money, shelter, or all of the above. It is not unusual for sociopaths or narcissists to charm someone into a relationship solely to rob them of their resources. Other times, the instability might be caused by boredom and infidelity. Because sociopaths prefer to be constantly stimulated to avoid boredom, And narcissists need to feel constant excessive admiration, nearly to the point of worship from their partners. It's not a surprise that once they feel those needs aren't being met, they'll seek them from someone else. Regardless of what goes on inside their romantic relationships, they're almost always dysfunctional and not stable. Now, let's contrast narcissists and sociopaths and discuss 5 of their differences. Number 5. The motives, intents, and goals that guide their actions differ. The biggest difference between narcissists and sociopaths is simple. Every manipulation, lie, or exploitation a narcissist makes is done with the intent to either preserve, protect, or expand their ego and self-importance, either to themselves or to others. A key component to narcissism is really an insecure, fragile ego that resides underneath layers of defense mechanisms, usually formed in their early childhood. Deep down inside their minds, they know that they are average, or even below average. But to a narcissist, being anything below remarkable is a failure and disgrace. Thus, nearly everything they do, the belittling, the lies, the gaslighting, the bullying, is an attempt to hide from the reality that they're not anything better or more important than any other individual on the planet. Sociopaths, on the other hand, don't behave in a harmful, dangerous, or toxic manner for the preservation of their own ego and perceived level of self-importance. So then what is their motive? That's the thing. There is often no motive other than to gain pleasure, to have fun, or to alleviate boredom. Sure, sometimes they might have other motives, such as committing a robbery for financial gain, but their egos, or the fear of shame that they would experience if caught, are not a factor that would stop them. Sociopaths act for pleasure and to stimulate their senses. Because of this, their actions and personality will often appear chaotic, random, and volatile, as there is no pattern or logical reasoning behind them. Their unpredictable nature makes them very dangerous individuals. Number 4. Sociopaths often have no regard for their own personal safety and well-being, unlike narcissists. Narcissists value themselves higher than anything else in the world, especially when it comes to their own physical safety, appearance, and well-being. But sociopaths don't share those same values. Sociopaths will often prioritize a stimulating, often dangerous thrill over their own safety. Because of this, they're more likely to behave in a daredevil manner, such as jumping off a bridge to feel a rush, or engaging in illicit substances without any fear of the consequences. Narcissists value themselves far too highly to do anything too risky, especially if it could leave their appearance altered or leave them with a negative reputation. Sociopaths don't share the same enlarged ego as narcissists, thus leaving them more susceptible to danger. Number 3. Sociopaths are more likely to be involved in crime and the justice system. Based on the fact that sociopaths have little regard for the well-being of themselves, others, or morality, it's probably not shocking that they also don't care about laws and regulations either. As a result, it's very common for sociopaths to have a history of criminality in adulthood and often display signs of disorderly conduct throughout their childhood and teenage years. Along with this, sociopaths struggle with planning and seeing the long-term consequences of their actions. They may impulsively do something illegal without considering that they might be arrested and charged, staining their criminal record permanently. In contrast, those with narcissistic personality disorder value their reputation, self-importance, and perceived success so high that they often avoid engaging in criminal activities solely to avoid being labeled a criminal. Of course, narcissists still can be impulsive, and oftentimes they'll view themselves as higher than the law, engaging in a crime while fully believing they're justified and in the right, only to be surprised later when they're arrested. On average, though, sociopaths are much more likely to have a history of criminality than narcissists. Number 2. Narcissists are normally more successful in their careers and finances. With sociopaths' chaotic, impulsive, and often criminal personalities, it makes sense that they struggle to hold down a job or manage their finances. Even though narcissists can let their egos and callous attitudes be a detriment to their careers, their cutthroat demeanor can often be advantageous in certain roles, such as a corporate executive. As a result, on average, narcissists are known to be more financially successful than sociopaths. Before we share the number 1 difference between narcissistic personality disorder and sociopathy, be sure to press the bell to subscribe and be notified for more great psychology content. Number 1. Sociopaths typically do not feel envy, nor do they require excessive admiration or validation from others. Unlike narcissists who require a constant supply of admiration and validation as if it was their oxygen, sociopaths don't have the same needs. Sure, if someone insults a sociopath, they might react with aggression, but their perceived self-worth and self-importance will not be shaken up. They'll react and move on with their ego completely intact. In contrast, criticism against a narcissist will haunt them for the rest of their days unless they're able to prop up enough defense mechanisms and find enough external admiration and validation to convince themselves the criticism was unjustified. Narcissists are envious people who will grow jealous when others have better lives or more prestige than them. But sociopaths don't care about their social status. As you can see, both of these cluster B personality disorders have many similarities, but are still distinct types of people. And if you liked this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to like this video to let the algorithm know you'd like to see more videos like these.